Hey, this is Bill Lockwood. Welcome to Patriotic Pulpit. Wouldn't you hate to be a Democrat right now? I mean, defending the indefensible, defending the absolute far out ridiculous, and defending it as if, and with a straight face. I speak about several things. Number one, Joe Biden's mental state. I mean, who does not know and who cannot see that he's a doddering old man? He stumbles around. He can't put sentences together. He can't think clearly. He's addled. He is lost. He doesn't know what things are. He has a staff that puts him here and there. He's like, if he was your grandpa, I would put him in, if he was my grandpa, I'd put him in assisted living. But after the special counsel report, Robert Hur's report last week, what happened? Well, Democrats came out and they defended him. And you kind of wonder whether or not, whether it's Biden who has cognitive decline or simply the Democrats, are they just such hardened and coarse liars and deceivers and hateful to America that they, or is it that they are themselves the same addled state? I think really it's the former. Now, this of course refers to the special counsel report that came out last week, Robert Hur's report, about 300 and some odd pages, in which he stated that Joe Biden had some cognitive decline and had memory loss. But Democratic Representative Ro Khanna of California came out Sunday. They came swooping in on all the Sunday shows, and at CNN, Ro Khanna of California said he saw Biden twice last week, or in the last few weeks, and he is completely mentally sharp. I thought so ridiculous. I mean, do you have to stultify your own intelligence? Do you have to sacrifice your own integrity to get out here and say this kind of stuff? And he's referring to, of course, Joe Biden's forgetfulness on when his son, Beau Biden, died. And the representative from California, Khanna, said, well, some people deal with it differently. That's not the issue, how the people deal with death. The issue is whether he has a memory loss or not. Then you have Jen Psaki, MSNBC. She had words for the Hur report, and that is Robert Hur specifically. She said, well, I wasn't aware that he was also a doctor, but he included this line basically questioning the cognitive abilities of Joe Biden. And then she went on to admit that he makes gaffes. I just thought, their hypocrisy knows no bounds. When Donald Trump was in office, they continued to talk about invoking the 25th Amendment. They continued to talk about, well, Donald Trump doesn't even need a cognitive test. He doesn't even need to take a test. No test needed. We know that he's addled. We know that he's not really full faculty. And so he needs to get out of office simply because he's not able to carry the ball. That's exactly how the headlines read in major newspapers. And now Jen Psaki comes out and says, I wasn't aware that he is a doctor, speaking of Robert Hur. Well, isn't that something when Trump was in office, showing no cognitive decline, showing no mental sloppiness at all, they all come out and said, well, he doesn't even need a test. We don't need to test him. We can see it on television. How about Alejandro Mayorkas? Well, what a certified liar this man is. On NBC, Meet the Press Sunday, he said, I see no reason to question Biden's mental faculties. And then he said, Hur made unnecessary, gratuitous, and inaccurate remarks. Unnecessary, gratuitous. Gratuitous, that is, there's no warrant for these things. Inaccurate. Mayorkas, can you get a more certified liar than that? It is so embarrassing. I would think, to be a Democrat now, you would be so embarrassed that the leaders of the Democratic Party are carrying water for a person who is obviously in cognitive decline. He has memory loss. He's not able to carry out his functions. And they get on there on television with a straight face and say, well, he is full faculty and he's accurate in his statements. As a matter of fact, Mayorkas went on to say this. I just laughed out loud when I read it. I thought, Mayorkas said the most difficult thing about meeting with Biden is preparing for it because he is sharp, intentionally probing, and detail-oriented and focused. I thought, I don't know whether that's a commentary on Mayorkas or Biden, but it's absolutely absurd and ridiculous. It's like I'm preparing to go to the nursing home and visit people there in the wheelchairs and who are in bed or who are led around the halls by the nurses, but I better prepare because they might nail me to the wall with their sharpness here. I just thought, oh, but not to be outdone. Chuck Schumer said, Biden's mental acuity is great. I talk to President Biden regularly, and then he said, usually several times a week. And his mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it has been over the years. That is, the mental decline that you hear, he says it's right-wing propaganda. Now, right here, let's just stop for a moment and think about this. Everybody in the world can see, and they have seen for a long time, even when Joe Biden first came to office, there were major questions about his abilities cognitively speaking. Not only the fact that he just toes the line of Obama and the Marxists, but nevertheless, he just had the faculties were absolutely, he was so addled all the time. And so that was the question. Matter of fact, Sean Hannity has been talking about this for, I don't know, perhaps 5 or 6 years in Joe Biden's mental decline. And it's obvious to everyone. And yet you got these Democrats like Chuck Schumer. So I think we should learn something here, and that is these Democrats who are leading the country, they're leading the country right straight to hell in a handbasket. And they have to have this man in office, the great Oz, because someone's pulling the strings behind the scenes, such as a Barack Obama. At least Barack Obama's staff is all Joe Biden's staff, seemingly just a whole slew of them, all Obama staff. But you know very well Joe Biden is not making his decisions. And it's just, as a matter of fact, if I get into a conversation with a Democrat, and sometimes I do, but it's kind of hard to find them at this point because they just kind of hide a little bit and they kind of melt into the sidewalk and don't speak out like they used to speak out. But you know what? If I do meet them, they defend Joe, I just say, you know what? There's no use talking to you. There's no use talking to the Chuck Schumers and the Alejandro Mayorkas. They're going to lie, and they're going to stultify their own intelligence. They're going to blunt their own acuity by saying Joe Biden is full faculty. I'll tell you what really this is about, though. It's about elderly abuse. Jill Biden and the Democrats, elderly abuse against Joe Biden. But this is all about a third term for Barack Obama, isn't it? Isn't that what's going on? But not to be outdone, I want to talk about, for a few moments, Ian Sams, the White House messaging, communications, media relations director, the man who had the strategies to drive for change political in the private sector missions. And he came out after the Her report came out and questioned Biden's mental faculties and mishandling of documents. And so out trots Ian Sams. And Ian Sams and I watched his interview, I just thought, this guy, once again, I mean, it's embarrassing. But here's some of the things he said. I want us to think about what he had to say, and then I want to give some answer to them. Number one, he said, well, this is all about, of course, the documents that were in Joe Biden's garage, Joe Biden's automobile, and all of it is illegal. All of it is against federal law. So this is what the Her report was looking at. And not prosecuting him because he's just a doddering old man. So out comes Ian Sams. He said, well, number one, Biden was cooperative. That was his main thing. He went back to that over and over and over again and said it was all an accident and it was most likely packed by the staff. But he just emphasized the fact that, well, he was cooperative when it was discovered, and therefore we need to let Joe Biden off. Ladies and gentlemen, it's still a crime. Isn't it interesting that you'll have at the top levels of government people who will come out pretending to be lawyer-like and say, well, at least he was cooperative. Was it a crime or not? Is it a crime? Yes, it's a crime, period. And it wouldn't be so bad, except this is exactly the same point that Joe Biden criticized Trump about and talked about how he was careless and he was not fit for office because he had documents that were at Mar-a-Lago. And after you say that kind of stuff, I mean, I talked about hypocrisy a moment ago. Just what is hypocrisy? Hypocrisy is not someone who falls short of being good and falls short and makes mistakes. Hypocrisy is actually play acting, is putting on a mask. It's actually knowingly deceiving. As our Lord accused the Pharisees of being hypocrites, it was that they would knowingly deceive people. And that's exactly what Joe Biden did. Now, he may be a doddering, old, foolish-looking old man and can't find his way off a stage or on the stage except by falling, or up on the stairs or anything. That may be the case, but he did know this. When he got up and he couldn't help but spew out hatred against Donald Trump and talk about how Donald Trump violated federal law and just kind of try to push that knife in further. And yet, at the same time, he had documents himself in his garage, unsecured. I tell you what, this is a farce. We've come to a three-ring circus with the Democratic Party. And also, isn't it interesting? Note this. Everything that the Democrats, everything that they said regarding the Republicans, like, okay, we need to get, when Donald Trump was in office, we need to get the adults back in the room. Yeah, the adults with diapers is what they've got. And then they would say, well, Donald Trump is not operating with his full faculties. And then they got Joe Biden being led around by the hand. I tell you, this entire thing is such an embarrassment to the United States. And let's talk about the word cooperation for a moment. Now, when Ian Sams talked about the cooperation of Joe Biden with the Justice Department and his documents that he illegally, against federal law, had in his garage and in his car and every other place that he might have them, he said, well, he was cooperating. But the question is, cooperation according to whom? And do you know who he trotted out, at least by name, to show that Joe Biden was cooperating? Robert Mueller and Eric Holder. Robert Mueller, who's a certified liar. And Eric Holder, who's a certified Marxist, whose goal with Obama was to destroy America. I'll tell you, all of them are dirty cops. And that's the one Ian Sams talks about. And how about Hillary Clinton? Talk about cooperation. Was Hillary Clinton cooperative? So, no, she wasn't cooperative. She actually bit their hard drive. She destroyed her hard drive. So if cooperation, when it is discovered, is the excuse, then why is Hillary Clinton not behind bars? You see, they just take any shelter in a storm. These Democrats, these Marxist, socialist Democrats, that's all they do. Why is Hillary Clinton not locked up then? If cooperation with the federal government is the key that unlocks the jail door, then why is Hillary Clinton not behind bars? Was she cooperative? No. Here's another one. I can go on with that one, but Ian Sims, what a pitiful excuse. Here's another one. Ian Sims said, well, everyone does it. Ronald Reagan did it. And this has plagued both parties for 50 years, that is, taking federally protected documents out of the White House in a transition period. Reagan did it, and it has plagued people for 50 years, both parties. All right? Let's say that's true. Why condemn Donald Trump then? Why send the DOJ to Mar-a-Lago, making it not only a federal case, which I suppose it was already, but making it a publicized on television, federal case, having dialed up all of the media outlets and saying we're going to go to Mar-a-Lago with a police escort and we're going down there with a SWAT team to get in there. Why did they do that? Well, according to Ian Sams, this has plagued both parties for 50 years. So Ian Sams, why don't you get up and speak that little speech in front of Donald, or in the behalf of Donald Trump? And then how about this one? Ian Sams said, well, there are gratuitous remarks in the report. That is the DOJ report by Robert Hur. There are gratuitous, of course, means unwarranted remarks. And he kept using the word gratuitous, and I think they briefed the entire White House to say, you use the word gratuitous, gratuitous, gratuitous. And everybody, from the press secretary to Jen Psaki, who's on television now, she's not officially in the administration, but every other administration official, the Democrats, all of them say the same word. Gratuitous is gratuitous, unwarranted. What are they talking about? Well, they're talking about the reports that stated that Joe Biden's state of mind, he is in cognitive decline, and we can all see it. What is gratuitous about it? What is unwarranted? We've been all seeing it. Everybody sees it on television every single day. That's why they keep him in wraps all the time. That's why they put floaties all over him wherever he goes so that he doesn't fall down. This is absolutely ridiculous. I tell you, it would be embarrassing to be a Democrat defending senility and incompetence. I remember when Joe Biden was running for office, and I saw some people put on Facebook say, ride in with Biden. It's just like in a wheelchair. You're just in a wheelchair and you're going downhill and you can't stop it. And I tell you, it's like the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels movie with Steve Martin, bouncing down the stairs in a wheelchair. That's riding with Biden. And then here's Sam says this, I dispute the characterization of his memory. Well, there you are again. Another Democrat saying, no, his memory is fine. His memory is sharp. He's clear. I suppose that Ian Sams has to prepare, stays up late at night, and he's fearful going into Joe Biden because he's such a sharp tack, and he's the sharpest one in the tool shed. And then how about, then when he said this, he defended Vice President Harris's, that is Kamala Harris's remarks, saying her remarks to defend Joe Biden were well offered and powerful and forceful. Oh boy. All she did was pipe the line that the White House was saying, well, his memory's fine, and her report had no business saying that. It's just, they're just scratching one another's back. Now, one of the questions that came up in the press conference was, will all of this damage Joe Biden? Will this damage the president? Now, think about that for a moment. He committed a federal crime. And it's a federal crime for which he criticized heavily Donald Trump for taking documents to Mar-a-Lago. Even making such statements as that he should be prosecuted for that. And he even sent his DOJ to prosecute Donald Trump. So now the question is, will this damage the president? And Ian Sams said, well, Biden did the right thing. That's not the issue. The issue is, was it a crime? You can listen to Ian Sams and he act like, no, that's not a crime. There's no crime. It's the only difference is if you have a mind that says, well, I'm going to be cooperative when I commit the crime, then it'll be all right. It's still a crime. And it wouldn't be so bad except for the heavy duty criticism of Donald Trump, which makes them just hypocrites of the first class. Then the question came up also, well, does Joe Biden not remember when his son died? And what is the answer on that one? How dare you? How dare you bring up Joe Biden's son and make it political, the death of his son? That's a stupid remark. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. No one's making the death of his son a political football. what is at stake here is Joe Biden's mind, whether he remembers it, and he's made public statements to the effect that he does not remember when his son died, and he's off by years. This ridiculous, how dare you defense is just, I don't know. It's almost as if, let us citizens get hold of these guys and let us cross-examine them on the chair. Then Sams was asked how Biden criticized Trump for the irresponsible taking of documents to Mar-a-Lago. Someone asked him that question. And the only thing that Sams would say was, well, there's a difference because Biden was cooperative. It's still a crime, isn't it? It's still a crime. And then the question was asked, and I thought one of the most telling was these. Biden apparently told his ghostwriter some time back, I found these documents in my house, and therefore the question was, why did Joe Biden, if he's so cooperative with the government and wanting to help out, why did he not turn those documents over right then? Because it was a crime. He recognized it was a crime. He told his ghostwriter, I found these documents in my house. Did he turn himself in then? Did he turn in the documents? No, he was still in illegal possession. Only when it became a federal case and blows up in the media did it come to pass that he becomes cooperative. No, Joe Biden is not cooperative. They do what they want to do. And then the question was this. The question was, Biden had said that all things were in a locked cabinet, but the report said that no, they were in cardboard boxes in his garage. And what was the answer to that? Well, there's no answer to that because it shows simply that Biden is a certified first-class liar. But that's the way all Marxists are. That's the way these Democrats all are because they've been sold right down the Marxist river. Because we are now in a very dangerous socialistic state. Someone asked me on a phone call the other day, because of one of these podcasts, they said, well, what do you mean we're in a socialistic state? And I said, okay, where does the federal government not intrude itself in your life? Just think about this. Where does the federal government not intrude itself in your life to control? Would it be in the schools that you go to? Would it be in your house, building of the house? Would it be in your property? Would it be in your taxes? Would it be in the groceries, in the grocery store, protecting you from yourself, you know? Would it be at the automobile or in the automobile plant? Would it be at the gas station? Where would it be? Where exactly is it? Would it be in the churches? No, we get a letter in the churches every year during tax season saying, here's what you may say and here's what you may not say. But of course, if you're a black church, you can get up and you can preach politics all day long, and that's fine. But don't you do it in a white church. Don't you talk about politics, and don't you mention Obama's name in the pulpit. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm here when I preach to preach it straight and tell people exactly what's going on. And if that includes uncovering the hairy legs of some of those Democrats, that's what we're going to do. But nevertheless, where is it that the government is not intruding itself? I don't think there's anyone can answer any place in life. What does that mean? That means we're in a socialistic state already. That's what it means. And we're controlled by the socialists, and the only hope we have is to get Donald Trump back in office, roll back some of the government so that it may not control your life completely. But if these Democrats continue, we are absolutely cooked. We're absolutely cooked.